The Galactic Intimidation Chamber. Captain Zexar's mandibles clicked with barely contained rage as he watched the holographic display flicker to life in the detention chamber. The human sat there, completely relaxed, fingers interlaced behind his head, like he was lounging on some beach back on Terra. Marcus Chen. Even his name sounded insufferably casual. You think this is amusing, human? Zexar's voice carried the weight of 1,000 conquered worlds, each word dripping with the authority of the Caltharian Empire. His 6 eyes narrowed to pinpricks of malevolent light as he gestured toward the massive viewing screen that dominated the far wall. Marcus turned his head slightly, one eyebrow raised in what could only be described as polite curiosity. Well, the hospitality could use some work. No complimentary snacks, terrible lighting, and honestly, the chairs are pretty uncomfortable. But hey, at least you've got a decent entertainment system going on there. The other council members shifted uneasily in their positions around the crescent-shaped table. Admiral Vorthax's tentacles writhed with nervous energy, while Commander Nexus's crystalline form pulsed with agitated light patterns. They had dealt with countless species across the galaxy, witnessed the breaking of the most stubborn warriors. Yet this human remained maddeningly unperturbed. Entertainment? Zexar's laugh was like grinding metal against stone. This is no entertainment, flesh creature. What you are about to witness represents the apex predators of a dozen different worlds. Creatures so terrifying, so utterly savage, that entire civilizations have fallen to their might. The holographic displays shimmered and resolved into crystal-clear imagery. The first creature that materialized was a Shadowmaw of Kepler. For 42B, a writhing mass of midnight black tentacles surrounding a maw filled with teeth that seemed to absorb light itself. Its hunting call echoed through the chamber, a sound that had driven lesser species to madness. Marcus whistled low and appreciative. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. Kinda reminds me of my ex-girlfriend, when she found out I forgot our anniversary. Same energy, really. Vorthax's tentacles stopped their nervous writhing entirely. You jest in the face of the Shadowmaw? The creature that devoured the entire population of 3 mining colonies? Look, Admiral Squidward, Marcus said, leaning forward with a grin that somehow managed to be both friendly and absolutely infuriating. I appreciate the whole intimidation theater you've got going on here. Really, top-notch production values. But maybe we could skip to the part where you tell me what you actually want. The display shifted to show the razor-claw behemoth of Proxima Centauri, a creature the size of a small building with claws that could slice through reinforced hull plating like paper. Its roar shook the very foundations of the space station they were on. Marcus nodded approvingly. Now that's impressive. Bet it gives great hugs. Commander Nexus's crystalline form flared bright orange with frustration. Your species' capacity for denial in the face of overwhelming terror is disturbing. Terror? Marcus laughed, a sound so genuinely amused that it caught the entire council off guard. Oh, you sweet, naive crystal person. You think this is supposed to scare me? The hologram cycled through creature after creature, the void stalkers of the Andromeda sector, beings of pure energy that fed on fear itself. The bone crushers of Wolf 359, pack hunters with intelligence that rivaled most sentient species. The plague bearers of the Outer Rim, creatures whose very presence could corrupt entire ecosystems. With each new horror, Marcus's expression grew more delighted, like a child watching his favorite nature documentary. Okay, now you're just showing off, Marcus said when the display revealed the Quantum Leviathan, a creature that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously and had once consumed an entire star system. That one's actually kind of beautiful in a cosmic horror beyond mortal comprehension sort of way. Zexar slammed his fist against the table, the sound echoing to the chamber like a gunshot. Enough! How can you sit there, grinning like a fool, when faced with the most dangerous predators in known space? Marcus was quiet for a moment, his expression shifting to something almost contemplative. When he spoke again, his voice carried a different tone entirely, something that made the temperature in the room seem to drop several degrees. You know what's funny about predators? He stood up slowly, and somehow the casual movement seemed more threatening than any of the creatures they had just shown him. The thing that makes them truly dangerous isn't their teeth, or their claws, or their size. It's their intelligence. their ability to adapt, their willingness to do whatever it takes to survive. The council members exchanged glances, uncertainty creeping into their expressions for the first time since the interrogation began. Marcus walked to the viewing screen, his hands clasped behind his back, and stared at the frozen image of the quantum leviathan. See, all of these creatures you've shown me, they're apex predators on their respective worlds, kings of their domains, absolutely terrifying anything that evolved alongside them. He turned back to face the council, and his smile was different now. Sharp, predatory. But here's the thing about being an apex predator. It makes you lazy, overconfident. You get used to everything running away from you, to being the biggest, baddest thing in your neighborhood. You stop expecting resistance. Admiral Vorthack's tentacles began their nervous writhing again. What are you suggesting, human? I'm not suggesting anything, Marcus replied, his voice carrying an almost conversational tone that somehow made his words even more unsettling. I'm stating a fact. You want to know why I'm not impressed by your little slideshow of Galactic Boogeyman? It's because I've seen worse. Much worse. Commander Nexus's crystalline form flickered between colors rapidly, a sign of deep agitation. Impossible. Our intelligence networks have surveyed your world extensively. Earth has no creatures that could match the power of what we have shown you. Marcus laughed again, but this time the sound carried no warmth whatsoever. Oh, you surveyed her, did you? Tell me, Commander Disco Ball, what exactly did your intelligence networks tell you about humans? That your species is relatively young, technologically primitive by galactic standards, and poses no significant threat to established powers. Nexus replied, though his light patterns had shifted to a decidedly nervous purple. Relatively young, Marcus repeated thoughtfully. Technologically primitive. No significant threat. He nodded slowly. And I bet your surveys focus on our cities, our governments, our official military capabilities, right? Zexar's mandibles clicked impatiently. Of course. Standard intelligence gathering protocols. Standard, Marcus echoed. You know what your standard protocols missed? They missed the fact that humans didn't evolve as apex predators. We evolved as endurance hunters, pack hunters, tool users. We took down creatures 10 times our size not through brute force, but through persistence, cunning, and an absolute refusal to give up. Marcus began pacing now, his movements fluid and controlled. We hunted mammoths to extinction. We turned wolves into pets. We looked at the ocean and said, you know what? I think I'll cross that. We looked at the sky and said, I want to go there too. Admiral Vorthack's tentacles had gone completely still. Your point being? My point, Admiral Calamari, is that every single creature you show me tonight will be classified as a Class 5 Keto level anomaly back home. And you know what we do with Class 5 Keto level anomalies. The council members leaned forward despite themselves. Marcus's grin widened. We contain them. We study them. And if they prove too dangerous, he shrugged casually, we neutralize them. Preposterous. Zexar roared, though there was a tremor in his voice that hadn't been there before. No single species could possibly pose a threat to creatures of such power. Single species? Marcus tilted his head. Oh, Captain Beetlejuice, you're still not getting it. Humans don't hunt alone. We never have. When we encountered our first Shadowmaw class entity, we didn't run screaming into the night like every other species apparently did. He walked back to his chair and sat down, the picture of casual confidence once again. We called it SCP-096, build a concrete box around it, and assign a research team to figure out how it ticked. When we found our first quantum leviathan equivalent, we didn't evacuate entire star systems. The temperature in the room seemed to drop another few degrees. We built bigger guns. Commander Nexus's form was now flickering between purple and a sickly yellow color. You're claiming that your species has encountered and contained creatures equivalent to the apex predators of the galaxy? Equivalent? Marcus laughed. Oh, Commander Rainbow Bright, you sweet summer child. I'm not talking about equivalents. He leaned forward, his eyes locked on each council member in turn. I'm talking about the originals. The holographic display flickered. showing the Shadowmaw once again, its writhing tentacles reaching toward the camera with hungry intent. "See, here's what your intelligence networks didn't tell you about Earth," Marcus continued, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "Every single creature you've shown me tonight, every apex predator, every cosmic horror, every nightmare that makes entire civilizations flee in terror." His smile was predatory now, all pretense of casual humor abandoned. "They've already been to Earth, and we sent them all home crying." The silence that followed was absolute. Finally, Zexar found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a croak. That's impossible." "Is it?" Marcus asked pleasantly. "Tell me, Captain Click-Click, what do you think happened to the last group of aliens who tried to intimidate humanity by showing us footage of scary space monsters?" When none of the council members answered, Marcus's grin became positively shark-like. "Well, let me put it this way. Would you like me to bring one of our pets to the next meeting? I'm sure they'd love to meet you when humanity shows its hand." The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called within 6 hours of Marcus Chen's casual threat. Representatives from 47 different species packed the grand amphitheater of Council Station Omega, their various forms of communication, creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, telepathic static, and harmonic resonances that would have driven most humans insane. But Marcus Chen wasn't most humans. He sat in the defendant's chair at the center of the amphitheater, looking for all the world like he was attending a mildly interesting lecture on accounting principles. His hands were folded neatly in his lap. His expression won a polite attention, and he occasionally nodded as if agreeing with particularly good points being made about his inevitable execution. Supreme Chancellor Khalif, a being whose species had evolved from crystalline formations and whose voice sounded like wind chimes in a hurricane, called for order. "We are here to address the unprecedented threats made by the human representative against the security and sovereignty of the Galactic Council." "Threats?" Marcus looked genuinely confused. "I'm sorry, Your Sparkliness, but I think there might be some miscommunication here. I didn't make any threats. I made an offer." The murmur that ran through the assembled representatives sounded like a swarm of very agitated insects having an argument about taxes. Captain Zexar rose from his position in the front row, his 6 eyes blazing with righteous fury. "You claim that your species has defeated and contained creatures equivalent to our most dangerous apex predators. You suggested bringing one of these alleged pets to intimidate this council." Marcus blinked slowly. "Well, yes, that's exactly what I said. I'm not sure where the confusion is coming from." Admiral Vorthak's tentacles were writhing so violently, they looked like they were trying to escape from his body entirely. "The confusion, human, stems from the impossibility of your claims. No single species could have encountered and defeated the cosmic horrors we showed you." "Oh," Marcus said, understanding dawning on his face. "Oh, I see the problem now. You think I was exaggerating." The silence that followed was so complete that the soft hum of the station's life support systems sounded like a freight train. Marcus stood up, brushing imaginary dust from his uniform. "Computer, establish connection to Earth Defense Command. Authorization code, Chen Alpha 9 Tango 7. A holographic interface materialized in front of him, displaying the Earth Defense Command logo, followed by the face of a stern-looking woman with graying hair and eyes that had seen far too much. Director Hayes speaking. "Marcus, please tell me you haven't started an interstellar incident." "Well, funny story about that," Marcus replied with a sheepish grin. "Remember how we discussed the possibility that I might need to clarify some things about our defensive capabilities?" Director Hayes' expression shifted to something that could have flash-frozen a star. "Oh, for the love of what did you do?" "Nothing major. I just mentioned that we might be willing to bring one of our friends to the next diplomatic meeting. You know, for show and tell." The assembled alien representatives were watching this exchange with expressions ranging from confusion to dawning horror. "One of our friends," Director Hayes repeated slowly. "Marcus, please tell me you're not talking about what I think you're talking about." "Okay, I won't tell you that." Director Hayes closed her eyes and took a deep breath that seemed to last for several geological ages. "Which classification are we talking about here?" "Well, They showed me footage of what they think are apex predators to try to intimidate me. Typical stuff, really. Tentacle monsters, energy beings, reality-warping entities, pack hunters with human-level intelligence. Pretty standard Tuesday afternoon for Site 19, if I'm being honest. The color drained from Director Hayes' face. Please tell me you didn't mention the Foundation. I didn't mention the Foundation. Good. I mentioned that we contain cosmic horrors for fun and profit. Director Hayes' I twitched. Marcus. And I may have implied that we have some of them as pets now. Marcus Chen, you magnificent, terrifying, absolutely insane man, Director Hayes said, her voice carrying a mixture of admiration and exasperation that only comes from years of managing the impossible. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Started a diplomatic revolution? You've just told the entire Galactic Council that humanity has successfully contained entities equivalent to their worst nightmares. Marcus looked around at the assembled aliens, noting their various expressions of shock, disbelief, and in some cases, what he was pretty sure was existential terror. Yeah, that sounds about right. Supreme Chancellor Kalitha's crystalline form was pulsing with agitated light patterns. This is impossible. The entity's Captain Zexar showed you represent the apex of predatory evolution. Nothing to contain them. Director Hayes turned her attention to the Alien Council, her expression shifting to something that made seasoned Foundation personnel check their security clearances twice. Chancellor, may I ask what specific entities your people showed to my representative? The Shadowmaw Kepler for 42B, Zexar replied, still defiant despite the growing unease in his voice. A creature of living darkness that feeds on terror itself. Oh, you mean SCP-096 cousin, Director Hayes said casually. Yeah, we got 3 of those in containment at Site 15. They're actually pretty docile once you figure out that they're just trying to get home. Turns out they're not predators at all. They're just lost. Commander Nexus flickered through several colors before settling on what Marcus was pretty sure meant HFY. The razor claw behemoth, a creature whose claws can slice through any known material. Sounds like SCP-682's little brother. Hayes replied with a shrug. We got to contain in a nice concrete cell. Turns out if you give them enough metal to shred, they're actually quite content. We've been using them for industrial recycling. Very environmentally friendly. Admiral Vorthax's tentacles had given up writhing and were now just hanging limply. The void stalkers of the Andromeda sector. Beings of pure energy that feed on fear. Oh, those guys. Hayes' face lit up with something approaching genuine enthusiasm. We call them Class D personnel motivators. Very effective at encouraging productivity. We got a whole department dedicated to their care and feeding. The amphitheater had gone dead silent. The Quantum Leviathan, whispered a representative from the back, whose species Marcus couldn't identify. The creature that exists in multiple dimensions and once consumed an entire star system. Director Hayes paused for a moment, her expression growing more serious. Yeah, that one was a bit trickier. Took us about 6 months to figure out how to contain a multidimensional entity. But once we realized it was just really, really hungry, we started feeding it expired timelines from parallel universes. Turns out there's no shortage of those. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes scanning the assembled representatives. The real trick was teaching it table manners. Marcus couldn't help but grin at the looks of absolute bewilderment on the faces around him. So, he said cheerfully, about that offer to bring one of our friends to the next meeting. I was thinking maybe we could arrange a cultural exchange. You know, show you some of our more diplomatic entities. Maybe SCP-999? Everyone loves SCP-999. What? Asked Supreme Chancellor Kalitha in a voice that sounded like breaking glass. Is SCP-999? Director Hayes and Marcus exchanged glances. Oh, that's our happiness blob, Marcus explained. It's this orange gelatinous creature that feeds on negative emotions and produces a euphoric effect in anyone who comes into contact with it. Completely harmless, absolutely loves meeting new people, and has been known to end wars just by existing in the same general area as the combatants. It's also incredibly intelligent and has helped us develop new forms of conflict resolution, Hayes added. We've been thinking about offering its services to the galactic community as a peacekeeping measure. The silence stretched on until it became almost physically painful. Finally, a small, mousy representative from the Tau Ceti system raised one trembling appendage. You have a creature that ends wars just by existing? Well, yeah, Marcus said. We got lots of those. There's SCP-2295, the teddy bear that repairs damaged organs. SCP-131, the iPods that prevent other entities from escaping. SCP-187, she can see how anything will end, which makes her invaluable for preventing catastrophic events. The list goes on. Hayes continued smoothly. We've cataloged over 5,000 anomalous entities, objects, and phenomena. About 60% of them are contained because they're dangerous. The other 40% are contained because they're too helpful, and we're worried about what would happen if everyone had access to them. Admiral Vorthak found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a squeak. 5,000? Oh, that's just the ones we classified, Marcus said with a wave of his hand. There are probably thousands more that we just haven't gotten around to cataloging yet. Plus, all the ones we decided are safe enough to integrate into general society. He paused, considering. Actually, come to think of it, most of our current technology is based on reverse-engineered anomalous objects. Our faster-than-light communication system, that's based on SCP-715, a set of mirrors that show anything you want to see, anywhere in the universe. Our medical technology comes from studying various regenerative entities. Our weapons... Please stop, Supreme Chancellor Khalith interrupted, his crystalline form now pulsing with what Marcus was pretty sure was the alien equivalent of a migraine. Just please stop. Director Hayes smiled, and it was not a reassuring expression. The point is, Chancellor, humanity has been dealing with cosmic-level threats for considerably longer than most species have been aware they exist. We've developed very effective methods for containing, studying, and when necessary, neutralizing entities that would otherwise pose existential threats to entire civilizations. She paused, her expression growing more serious. The question now is whether the Galactic Council wants to continue treating humanity as a primitive, backwater species to be intimidated and bullied, or whether you'd like to discuss it more. Later, as Marcus was preparing to leave the station, Captain Zexar approached him in the docking bay. The alien's mandibles were clicking nervously, and his 6 eyes kept darting around, as if expecting something horrible to leap out of the shadows. Human Marcus, Zexar said carefully, may I ask you something? Sure thing, Captain Clickbait. When you offered to bring one of your friends to our next meeting, were you serious? Marcus considered this for a moment, his expression thoughtful. You know what, Captain? I think that's a question you really don't want me to answer. As his ship pulled away from the station, Marcus opened a secure channel to Earth. Hayes here. Mission accomplished, Director, full diplomatic recognition, Security Council membership, and a formal apology. Outstanding work, Marcus. I assume you didn't actually have to reveal any classified information. Marcus grinned. Nope. Turns out the truth is scary enough. There was a pause. Then Hayes' voice came back with a hint of amusement. Marcus. Yes, ma'am. Next time you want to terrify an entire galactic civilization, maybe give me a little more warning? Where's the fun in that? The laughter that followed echoed through the ship as Earth's newest ambassador headed home, leaving behind a galaxy that would never quite look at humanity the same way again. After all, as Marcus had learned long ago, sometimes the best way to make friends is to politely explain exactly why you don't need to.